call our special Monday, July the 9th, 2018 special meeting regarding tax matters. At this time, we'd like to stand and I'll have our invocation. Mark, will you do the pledge, please? Our Father, we thank you, Lord, for another day, Lord, that you just spared our lives through. We thank you for all the blessings that you've given us throughout this life. We ask you as we go forward to take care of county business that you will lead, guide, and direct us and every one of us in a humble fashion. Help us, Lord, to go through this evening doing the will of the people of Bladen County so we'll be pleasing in the sights of you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all of y'all this evening to Ms. Davis. Come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chairman, can we add to that or amend that agenda?
Yes, ma'am. we
For-
can.
okay.
We'll be adding Stevie Tatum, the gentleman, to our agenda. Here, F on the list. We don't need a motion. Got a call for it.
Thank you. Okay, this evening I have, there's several, we've been doing several, some land use audits, and also there's land use transfers, which is 60 days, you have to do application. So these are a few of some deferred billing that we have. And then I have one that's a collection question, about a refund. So, I have Mr. Britton,
Chuck Britton.
yeah, Chuck Britton, and he's gonna be, talking about the Bass family property that he's requesting.
Evening. I had presented, and hope y'all will forgive me, I'm gonna be totally candid with you, I have never actually done one of these before, so please bear with me on this. But my name is Charles Britton, I'm an attorney from Cumberland County, and I've had the good fortune over the past couple of years to get to know Benny Bass, who's now deceased, and his wife Lorraine Bass, through their daughter Marcia Bass Rouse. She works for an attorney over in Cumberland County, Alan Pittman, who I've worked with for many years down there on various cases. And through the years, I talked to Mr. and Ms. Bass about various things regarding estate matters and things of that nature, and answered various questions that they had. And I had the pleasure to assist them with some matters before Mr. Bass passed away. Benny Bass passed away in February of 2015. At that time, he was, and again, if I'm getting into more detail than you guys need, just please, bear with me and let me know. But Benny passed away in February of 2015. At that time, he was a owner of property as a tenant in common with his brother Bernard Bass. At the time he passed, that land, unbeknownst to his bride, Benny's bride, was involved in this present use program. It's basically in the forestry section of that. It's not under agriculture or horticulture, it's under the forestry. And there's a copy of the plan that's attached to the application. It looks like from looking at the plan and reviewing it, this is a 50-year plan that they're looking at to restore longleaf pines on the property at issue. But anyway, after Benny passed away, Ms. Bass got concerned with regard to her interest that she inherited from her husband, as well as interest that her children would have inherited, and just making sure that that interest was properly went to her daughters when she passed away. Also, she had some concerns about, as all folks do in this day and age, when folks start getting a little bit older and they're like, well, what if I have to go to a nursing home and I have to try to qualify for Medicaid, and they're going to come and take our property away and all this stuff. So she wanted to go ahead and try to get some of this property to her children. So we went ahead and did a deed that was filed July of last year, July of 2017. And basically it was a quitclaim deed. One of the reasons it was a quitclaim deed because no deed had been done on this property at issue since 1949, when it was deeded to Benny and Bernard's parents when they purchased it from the Singletaries. But we did a quick claim deed, basically just saying, look, if I do have an interest in this property, which I would have inherited from my husband, I want any interest I have to go to my $3. And she listed the daughters out. It's interesting to note, under intestate succession, again, I'm not getting into more mess than you guys want me to get into, but under intestate succession, when Benny Bass passed away, his wife inherited, or a 1/3 interest in this property passed to his wife, and then his children would have received a 2/3 interest, just by the nature of him passing away. That natural event, the 1/2 undivided interest that he held in this property went straight to her, 1/3 of that went to her, and then 2/3 went to her children. And so basically what Miss Lorraine Bass was trying to do with this deed is say, look, I just want any interest I do have to go ahead, let's go ahead and get that to my children. Again, no monies changed hands, no monies was received by Miss Lorraine Bass, and this did not affect in any way, and it specifically says in the deed, it did not affect in any way Bernard Bass's interest. He still has his 1/2 undivided interest, and he is actually the primary farmer, maintainer of the property that we're talking about. So basically, this was just her trying to say, look, I just want this property set aside for my daughters. Again, not understanding that it was in this program at the time, and her not understanding the consequences of, okay, once this is done, we're gonna have to go back and look and see if we need to do something else as far as this present use application. Once this was brought to Ms. Bass's attention and Bernard Bass's attention, we immediately jumped on it. I contacted the good ladies here, and if I could, you have some fine folks working for you here in your tax office. It was a pleasure to work with both these ladies. They've been very helpful to us as far as, guiding us through this process. But no, we jumped right on it, contacted these folks, and find out, okay, what can we do to fix this, to correct this oversight? And as part of that, we did a new application, which should be attached to the materials you folks have, that's been signed now by Bernard Bass, as well as the 3 daughters of Lorraine Bass and Benny Bass. You also should have a copy of the plan, the forestry plan, which again, this is a 50-year plan. This is not something that is generating annual income or anything like that. Lord bless her, they can't even farm the pine straw under this plan. So, and also a copy of the deed itself that was filed, and just kind of, it outlines the history as far as the property being owned by the Singletaries and then being deeded to the Basses back in 1949, and also specifically identifies Bernard's interest has not been changed in any way by doing this. Hopefully we've got everything here that you folks will need to look at. Basically, we're just asking for the opportunity to correct this oversight, and also asking that that the taxes, deferred taxes, be waived, as this would represent, number one, a significant financial burden on this family. And also, just because of the nature of the oversight, the fact that no money's changed hands, I think this is a good example of why folks are given this opportunity to come before y'all and say, look, a mistake was made, we need to try to correct this so it doesn't cause any harm to the family and put them under any kind of burden, which that's what they were trying to avoid by doing this. Again, I appreciate y'all's patience in letting me ramble. If there's any questions that you have or any questions that the good ladies here have, I'll be more than happy to do the best I can to answer them. Again, thank you for your patience and your time.
Motion to grant.
Second. Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mr. Dallas.
No question.
All in favor, say aye.
I have a question.
You got a question, I'm sorry?
I did, and this is, you said that Mr. Bernard is the one who maintained everything?
We did. That's right, Mr. Bernard, and again, I'm not entirely 100% clear on the how they divvied up the workload prior to Mr. Benny passing away, but definitely since Mr. Benny's passed away, Mr. Bernard's been the one that's primarily been managing the land and making sure that the forestry plan that's in place is being implemented and followed.
So, all that part, he's taking care of it, so why is this part was not done?
The lawyers didn't do it when they changed the
When they
deed.
did it, Oh,
Yeah.
so the deed was done at that time?
Exactly. The deed was
Okay.
done
See,
back,
that was
but it was
missing.
only
Okay.
done with regard to, it wasn't done with regard to any interest that Bernard had.
Okay.
So Bernard really didn't have any involvement in that
So let it
process.
go, that's
It was just Miss Lorraine saying, look, when I pass away, I wanna make sure that this goes to my daughters.
Mhm.
But then also that concern of, you know, what happens if I get sick and I have to go to a nursing home?
Right.
And then I have to try to qualify for Medicaid,
Right.
and then Medicaid comes back and puts a lien on the property, and then they're all gonna be in a mess. So trying to address all those issues.
Scott, there.
Ms. Davis, Ms. Director, you on this with the transferring and reallocating this on this 60-day application, what type of, did it go to the property value change over to the normal
Yes,
rate
sir.
that was in that area?
Yes,
What's the
because-
rates on it now?
Yeah, when it's in the present use, you get that lower tax rate because it's in that program. And any type of change of ownership, that's just like if it was a husband and a wife to just a wife. It's still a type of ownership. That 60-day, application has to be done in that 60 days to continue that use.
So is this happening within that 60 days?
No, they did not give us a, application within the 60 days, and that disqualifies, and that's how they're deferred billing. That's why we bill them for those taxes for 3 years.
So we don't need to reimburse them any of this back, that's what
They
makes.
have not paid it.
So they haven't paid anything, so it's not, just to re-straighten everything back out.
Yeah, the only thing that in the statute is that they can do a late application, but you have to accept that late application, and once you accept it, then we can get rid of the bill as long as it's with good cause.
Okay. So we go back to the agricultural forestry type rate, back to the past 3
Yes.
years, you're prorate back to that.
And how many acres we talking about?
It's actually 112 acres.
Because even when you split it, when it's three, it's still qualified. Okay. Okay. No. Okay. Thank
And
you.
I just have one comment. I agree with what I heard Mr. Peterson say. The attorneys are not doing a good job sharing this information, which causes this amount of time to have to be done, obviously, over and over and over again, so.
I do wanna let you know that we have changed a little something in the office when a deed comes in. You have to do a certification form, and that attorney or taxpayer has to fill out that certification form, and on there is a question: is the parcel in land use or present use? And it's a yes or no, and it gives, if it is, there is a statement on there that says that you have to do a 60-day application. So, and then if it's disqualified or they're splitting something out and then they need to defer taxes, we give them the amount right then. So hopefully that will help.
Okay, again, we had a motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Dow. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir.
And two, I just wanted to add on that comment as far as attorneys, that was in addition to the financial burden of them having to pay a lawyer to come down here, and I'm not, the other reason I'm not charging them is because I said, look, I crafted the deed to begin with, I'll come on down there, I'll do all I can to help you get it straight and get all this fixed for them.
And we
So
appreciate that.
I certainly do appreciate y'all's time. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, I'll make a motion to approve TCDEF.
Is it same circumstance?
Same circumstance.
All
So
of them the
attorney
same.
didn't know?
Second.
Wow.
These some of the refund.
No, they are.
A,
Yeah,
B, C, and D, I'm sorry, A, B, and C
Not D.
are the same situation.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Okay, I do know.
D and E are not the same. And then Stevie Tatum
It's on the
is the same.
agenda, the same, written the same way.
The one says refund.
Mine says,
That's a refund.
consider a request from Regina,
But it's about a refund.
I mean, it don't say that on what the
Oh,
point
my
I'm trying
sheet
to make.
does.
We got refund here.
Mine does not have refund on it.
Your agenda?
Mine has request.
You don't have this agenda here, the big packet?
I'm looking at July 9th agenda.
You got a big packet.
The
right
one
There's
there.
a
that,
memo.
Yeah.
one that Marie said here.
You got this, just had a packet on your table there. You got refund. She laid down on her,
I
right?
think double taxation. Okay.
I got one really late on my
He's
desk.
really got, leave G and separate.
I say, if you amend the motion to A, B, and C, I can go along with that.
So A, B, and C, and then the one that was amended are the same situation.
A, B, C,
And
and
F.
F.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I can go along with that. A,
We got a
B,
motion
C, and
by
F.
Mr. Peterson.
You gotta-
Where's that?
He did D and E, so,
Well,
Where's that?
are you gonna correct that, Mr. Peterson?
The Stevie Tatum is a separate, do you have a
Oh,
separate
you
one?
got an
That
A
was,
one, so I'll make one F.
yeah, it was just amended.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you gonna let your motion reflect that, Mr. Peterson?
Yes, sir, Ms. Cogdell, it'll reflect your request.
Make sure.
Oh, my God.
Okay,
all right.
so,
We got a motion by Mr. Peterson on A, B, C, and F. I got a second by Mr. Dallas. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Are all of them for lawyer field to do? Yes, and I'm good, thank you.
Here's one of them. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Since Cogdell's got me fired up, I make a request that we get what's being presented to us, let's get the correct information in front of us. I don't know who, Renee, maybe you brought it in later, whoever, but I was going off what, Ms. Marie gave me.
Well, the young lady came down and put them in front of everybody, Charles, I thought you had one, I didn't know you didn't have it.
I got it, I found it, but I didn't know that was the one. I went on what Ms. Marie gave me, she's the clerk. Everything should flow through her.
I'm trying, I'm just trying to get it over something.
Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
letter D is Miss Regina Whitted. She had some back taxes and got to looking, and her deed was for 40.44 acres. Part of it is in Bladen, part of it's in Cumberland, and since 1993, she had been paying 40.44 acres in Bladen and 11.45 in Cumberland. The only thing that we could do is 5 years, and I gave her, we corrected, and the difference we put on her back taxes, and she insisted that, she go to the board because she thought she needed to get more than that, and I can't do anything.
How long has it been bid?
Since 93.
How much money?
I don't know the difference.
You paid for the property that was in Columbus County? For the Columbus-
She's paying in Cumberland 11.45 acres, and then in Bladen County, she had 28.99.
So, but she was paying Bladen only 11.45 acres then?
She was she was paying for the whole tract in Bladen, because used to,
Oh,
they didn't split it out. Bladen, if it was the majority of the land was in that county, that's what the county would do. So when I called Cumberland, and the GIS says it looks like since 1993, they had been charging. And so all that the statute, relates to is 5 years plus current.
That's what.
And that's what we did, so I can't, that's still back to the taxpayers.
To deny.
how much money did you say
You gonna deny the whole thing or just?
I don't have it like at the,
How much total?
5 years, deny,
let me
5 years.
see.
Go back to 5 years.
I didn't
See,
see
that
that.
was the question that I was having, we faced this once before. Greg, this is a similar situation where we faced this before, in a similar situation with the lady on the upstairs versus downstairs and the reimbursement and if we went beyond the statute, that the commissioners could end up paying.
Yeah, it definitely didn't go beyond the statute.
Yeah, the only thing that's in the statute is that 5 years plus
Yeah, I've
current.
never known to do anything.
Yeah, and there's no, it still goes back to the taxpayer responsibility. Even though our deed had, Bladen and Cumberland, but it don't tell us what's in Cumberland. It just says 40.44 acres, but in Cumberland's deed, it had 11.45.
So how many years we're talking about?
2012 to 2017.
She got it in 1993, or that was the first year, and she's paid or she had delinquent taxes, but we've been taxing her since 1993 to 2017. But I have corrected,
And give her credit for it?
and give her credit for the 5 years plus current, which would be your 12 through 17.
So, so the credit you mean when you did that, is that, how you, I'm trying to figure out how you apply the credit. Do you just go back and then prorate it back to the?
I go in because she owed money. I put it, whatever the difference is back on her bill. She still owes it. She don't owe as much, but I just changed that year to the value that it should have been.
What was the total amount she owed?
Hold on, I got it. It's in
Make a motion, we did not give her the 5 years and deny the rest.
You already did find.
That's your recommendation, right, Ms. Davis?
Yeah, I mean, that's the says the statute, 5 years plus current.
I
And
second.
I did that already.
Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, we actually had a second by Dr. Goins. Any other further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And the total amount now is 2168.81. It was like 3,400, I think. Now she owes 2168.81.
And that's only on Bladen County side.
Yeah, that's the correct amount.
How many years is that?
She owes from 12 to 17.
Was she paid income?
2020?
She says she will not pay until it's corrected, so. that's not fair.
Well, when foreclosure time comes in, I mean, everybody else has to pay taxes.
So she,
Just emphasize though, Ms. Davis, we can't go beyond what the statute says. Even if we want to, we can't do it.
I would suggest you give her a copy of the statute, I mean, you know, she might
And
not.
I have actually emailed, she wanted that, and I gave her all she wanted several statutes, I gave her that, and so this was, the only thing she just wanted to make sure that she went to the board.
when did she start paying? That's one of those, never.
There was no payment, she has not made a payment, I think it was in like 2012. And she came in, tried to make a payment agreement. Well, we asked for a percentage to be put down before you go into that agreement, and that's when she's saying, hey, I think I'm double charged. So right now, she will not give us any kind of signature, any money until it's corrected. It's correct? It's correct.
So we corrected that.
Yes, we did that.
So we
back
went
2
all
weeks
these
ago.
years without going into a foreclosure status.
Yes, she was owing 612.
Don't we go there, what, I mean,
You said 2012, what you just told me?
The 12 was, yeah.
I said we go foreclosure.
Well, wait a minute, she hadn't paid you 9.
3 years.
Oh, we had paid her. She paid.
She paid, yeah, it's just the last 5 years she hadn't paid.
Yeah.
So we thought, oh, okay, I wanna know, so we don't do a foreclosure for 10 years?
They don't do it for
10
10
Coming back.
Well, we should do it before then. It's just, there's been a few years I'm having to catch up some, because there's still some from 08 and 09. So I hate to take some that's in 12 and 13 if you got somebody owing for 9 and 10.
The question I'm asking, what's the time limit before we put a piece of property in foreclosure? That's the question I'm asking. Is it 5
In
years, 6
the
years, 7
policy,
years?
it said 3 years.
Next.
So, E is Clark Brothers. Now, this is not a 60-day transfer. We have started a present use audit, and we were going alphabetical, and Clark Brothers was in last year's audit. And we were advised by the auditor that we need to do audits, because it's by the law, and we were not doing deferred billing. So, we sent them a form, an audit review letter, August 1st. And they sent it back, but they needed to show income, proof of income. Second letter was requested, no response. Final letter was requested, and that gives you, 60 days, Sarah?
Yes.
60 days, February 12th, she removed it from the program. We didn't have this right information. Then in March, she done deferred bills were mailed. So now they've come and said, here's your information on July 5th. They brought the information of the income, and they're asking, they're protesting the billing for the last 3 years.
Go back.
I'm sorry.
So they
It's a
didn't
long process with that audit.
So they didn't give you evidence until they got the final letter, then they brought you the evidence.
July 5th, I got it.
How long have they been double taxed?
This is not double tax. They were audited and didn't provide the information, yeah.
Said,
And this is the amount that's deferred.
I have a question for you.
Okay?
When a person does land use, if they are a farmer, you know, they fill their paperwork out and so forth. Now, what about a person who is a landlord?
Like the corporate,
that-
yeah.
Can that person get the land use on the farmland?
The landlord, just like these, they're
Yes.
rent, yeah, they're leasing. So what they have to do, they don't use their income from the lease. They have to get a signed statement from whoever farms it showing their income. That's their proof.
they want us to, do we need to act on this to approve the deferral?
They're protesting the billing. They just were audited and didn't provide the information the day that the statute allows them to.
For the audit.
So are they
So
out?
if they would reply to the information, they'd still be in the land use? Well, I mean, he says right here that, you were sending to the Clark, Manley Clark,
Sent to the wrong address.
wrong address.
What
Is that true?
Well now, the letters that she sent was P.O. Box 339, which is the correct address. They still have P.O. Box 337. They just don't, they're trying to get out of using that. But she told me, Sandra from Clark Brothers told me that they were, when it's in H. Manley Clark, they don't open that mail at that P.O. Box 337. However, the letters that Sarah sent has P.O. Box 339.
But was it addressed to Manley?
Yes.
And that's
Well, I mean, if they're,
deceased.
it's addressed to Manley, and they didn't know if it was mail,
Yeah, that, well, and
is
that's,
that,
yeah.
is that an excuse, or is that legit?
I mean, it was, that piece of property was in his name, so that's how we have to bill it, whether he was deceased or not. That's how it was billed. So we can't,
I'm saying, that you say, you, help me if I'm trying to understand.
Uh-huh.
You said if they would've responded back, then everything would've been good.
yes.
Well, if it'd been sent to anybody besides Manley Clark, they probably would've responded back. Would you say yes or no?
By what she's saying yes, that if you would've put, if it was Clark Brothers, she would've
So how much money are you talking about?
$4,396.38.
4,000?
396.38. I make motion to that.
So what
The
make
only
them,
thing
what make
they
them
really
find?
know is not applying to the audit.
Do I now, I'm sorry.
You're saying though, in verbal, that the only thing they're guilty of is not responding to the audit request,
Per statute, they did not do what they're,
because it was a Manley Clark.
and this is, and the statute gives the taxpayer plenty of time. Cause every time she sends a letter, it's like 30 days, and 30 days, and 60 days.
But if you had sent it to the wrong person,
Still,
not-
still dealing with the deceased name.
Yeah.
What is the-
That's the only thing I keep coming back to.
Yeah, but I can't change names.
Cause in the proper, in that name.
I cannot change that name.
Yeah.
What was in charge of Mr. Manning?
That's right. That's how, they hadn't changed it. It wasn't changed. That name wasn't changed.
So when did they finally open it then? They had to open it to get your, or did you change it?
She says she opened, the last one was, where it had deferred. It went to that P.O. Box 377, or
Same address you always been
337.
using? So they
She-
opened that one, but they didn't open the previous one.
But it had the name.
What was the
She
statute?
just said something, told her to open it, and she opened it.
You stay in compliance with the statute, what does the statute allow us for to do?
Well, this is why you have to do audits, so that if they don't comply or they don't do what they're supposed to do, then you get deferred billing. If, if you don't, I want us to do audits, we have to do audits, but if they go all the way through and we end up giving it, I'm just saying, it's gonna be hard to keep doing it.
What's been the precedent been set previous to this when you're in these type of situations?
Say that again.
What have we done and how has it been handled in previous situations?
We hadn't really done any kind of audits.
This is something new,
Yeah.
first time?
This is this is the first audit. The only other thing we had was the Allen Brothers last year.
That was the first one.
That was the first one, but they didn't have any income, and we denied them.
So these guys had income on this one.
They just didn't provide it at the right time.
Could I ask you kind of get my mind, is that the same situation when the gentleman came in here, was talking about grass on his property?
Yeah,
And
he
had to
couldn't
deny
show
him
me
because he
income.
couldn't show any income,
Mhm.
and we had to deny him his request.
Yeah.
But if he had an income showing, it would have changed the whole situation.
If he would have showed income, he would have, but now he was not late, right? No, he just was saying because we denied it, he didn't have any income, he thought, yeah.
But these guys may have income.
They have income, but they did not respond within the statute of the time
But
frame.
they've been paying their taxes.
Yeah,
So that's the thing, they're paying their taxes.
You said the letter went to the lady and she opened it. What was the date of that letter?
Pay your taxes.
the statement is one that she opened.
So why they haven't paid their taxes?
Now you pay your taxes. That's what it
So
says.
what's the $4,000 for?
That's your deferred.
They had to go back,
Had to
Go back.
they had to go back and collect that.
They took it out of land.
Right. So took out land, use, go back and collect.
And we just approved the others in the land use.
Yeah, that was a 60-day. But they were asking for you to accept the late application. This was just an audit that was done by statute, 1/8 has to be done in the 8 years. So they were audited, but they sent it back, but didn't provide, income. And you're supposed to provide income within that time frame, and they didn't,
And you follow up for income.
yes.
You couldn't follow up.
They sent us the information July 5th.
But I mean, how many times did you follow up for the income?
Every time they're audited, they should, so that's 1/8. Is that what you're asking me, every 8 years? Unless there's something different in land use.
So they took it out of land use in 2003, is that what you're saying on his document? Where it's talking about the 2003 filed and changed all property to the new name?
That
When
was
did it
a,
change?
she was talking about the deed, saying that the deed under H. Manley Clark, that PIN number, there was two situations here. One of them's already fixed, was the deed being transferred to Clark Brothers. But this one is about the land use.
It was out of land use for how many years? Those 15, 16, 17?
Because we can only go back 3 years, so that's the 3 years that are deferred. That's the difference between market value and the tax value. So you have to pay those 3 years if you're
I
disqualified.
think due to they paid your taxes, and Mr. Manley's deceased, and the confusion, I'd like a motion under the circumstances to grant the taxes been paid and accept and go on.
So moved.
Second.
I think we need to table it.
I was gonna say, let's
Yeah.
not take you to
Look
look
at
at
legal advice on this
Yes,
thing.
that's what I was saying, get Liz to look at it.
And I wanna help them, but I don't wanna set no
Right,
precedent.
so that's what I'm saying, we make everybody doing the same thing, and we have to do it first. But we had other gentlemen some same situation.
Somebody property.
What
Well,
the same
there's-
situation?
Somewhat
What's
similar
same
to
There
it.
was a world of confusion with the
Yeah,
letters.
exactly.
Well, then again, what does
Well,
the
they
postal
need to change the
service
name then.
says?
If they don't wanna use his get his mail, then they need to change the deed.
Well, I'm trying, my thing is what the statute,
They
you
have
saying, you keep
responsibility.
referring to statute, that's law. And I'm saying, is we need to maybe let the law interpret what that statute, and what we can do to that statute.
Well, you
You talking about
what was the
statute?
motion, Sean?
They already got one before.
We got a motion, Mr. Priest, second,
The
to
motion-
forgive them of the penalty.
Well, I had a motion on already that you didn't carry, you just
Yeah,
ignored
well,
it, to
first.
deny it. So it can die on the table, I'm okay with that. But, cause I don't agree with it. So. Okay.
We got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. How many ayes we got? One, two, three, four, five.
You see, if you're gonna do it that way, everybody will listen to it right.
Opposed?
I'll oppose, only because I thought we were gonna have the
Mr.
attorney.
Bullock,
look
you
at
I
it.
thought we had the attorney look at it.
Yeah, so I denied, I said no.
You know what, when we have something like this, I know that the tax office is burdened, but when we send something 3 times and we don't get no response, we need to get on the phone or something. I mean, we need to avoid this stuff and putting commissioners in situations like this.
I'm talking about this one got cut.
I mean, we really do. I know y'all, I'm not being critical of y'all, please don't take it that way. I'm just saying that,
Well, they voted now, I think until you talk about it.
yeah, it is, we
I'm
prevent it
not
from
telling
happening
him,
again.
I'm telling him, not you. Just saying it's already done now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Mr.
not-
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I heard you say forgive them, and then I heard penalties. Are you saying just penalties or the entire thing?
If they paid the taxes,
Well, they haven't paid. This is what they owe.
They're paid taxes, so just the interest.
No, this is what they owe the deferred. They
Need to
paid
pay
their
the
original,
they
okay.
can pay the taxes.
So are we going, with this particular case, the motion was the motion to put it back in the land use like it was?
Correct.
So then there was nothing to do then.
Now, I'll just get rid of the bills and they'll go back to normal.
Mr. Davis, you-
Yep, and that was it. That was the last one.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask for Ms. Davis Lee, what Mr. Pease in reference to. If we get to talking statutes and changing statutes and voting according to statutes, I would think that we need to let that kind of stuff go through the attorney, Ms. Davis, we let that go through the attorney prior to it coming to, like, we dealing with statutes and we trying to all these statutes, then somebody else coming in with the same thing, do we leave the statute intact, or do we change the statute anytime we come with it? Do we interpret the statute how we want to interpret the statute?
Well, you have to change the statutes.
The Allen brothers was,
Correct.
they didn't provide income at all. I mean, well, they provided, but they didn't have any income, okay, for the last 3 years. And this one did not provide at all within the time frame.
That's what I'm saying, we change the statute. The statute says you have to do one thing, we do nothing.
I mean, by going by the statute, that's both disqualified to me.
That's what I'm saying, we do this times.
But I do agree with Ms. Peterson saying, send to the attorney. Don't put the burden on us, because we don't know the law.
Anything else, Ms. Davis?
That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So, second.
Got a motion by Dr. McCoy, Peace. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.